call this meeting of the Rotary Club of Oakland to order. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dudley Thompson, and I have the honor to serve as the president of the Rotary Club of Oakland. Founded in 1908, we're the third established club of some 36,000 Rotary clubs in 200 countries around the world. We're a diverse community of some 270 local business, professional, and community leaders who unite to improve local and international communities through a common commitment of service above self. For over 113 years, we have welcomed Rotarians and guests to our club meetings, and I welcome you to this, our 5,371st meeting. If you're a visiting Rotarian or the guest of a Rotarian, please enter your name in the chat box located at the center of the bottom of the screen so that we can recognize you in a few minutes. We recommend that you view today's meeting using the speaker view located in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. If you have comments or want to ask a question of the speaker, please use the chat box. Excuse me. For a thought for the day, I welcome Rotarian Jason Wizelman. Oh no, I take that back. Keith Giron, I apologize. I didn't change that in my notes, Keith. Are you there?
Thank you, President Dudley. Yes, I am here, and I'm complimented by your other reference. On Monday, our country celebrated Martin Luther King Jr. Day. To honor and in commemoration of Dr. King, I suggest service above self as the thought of the day. And I got to witness a wonderful example of this on Tuesday, the day after Martin Luther King Day, when the Karl Stucki World Community Service Committee met. That committee did excellent service. The committee approved one grant, found funds for another grant that was short on funding, and presented notification that 4 grants had been completed and finalized by the TRF, the Rotary Foundation. So I was able to witness excellent service. So in that vein, I suggest that today be service above self. Thank you, Dudley. Thank you, President.
Thank you very much, Keith. Now I invite you to recite our vision statement with me. Together, we see a world where people unite to take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. During January, we continue to meet online while we assess the current situation of the surge of the COVID Omicron infections. Next week, we will be reviewing the situation and reporting at the Board of Directors meeting Tuesday evening. We continue to plan club events that are outdoors or in large indoor spaces. You will hear about some of those projects and events today during the meeting. I want to thank past President Seth Butner for hosting the meeting last week. I'd been called for jury duty, but wound up not having to serve. When I first asked Seth, I anticipated it would be a live meeting, and I had promised him to get him on the podium this year. But as we saw, he is the master of Zoom. Things changed. This week, the special guest for our Civic Thursday club meeting is Regina Jackson, the chair of the Oakland Police Commission. Ed Jellen, do we have any visiting Rotarians or guests out there today?
Hi, President Dudley. No one checked into the chat, but Robert Raburn did anticipate a guest today whose name is Kathryn Marshall from the Rotary Club of SF Evening, and she's the program chair of her club. So Kathryn, if you're out there, welcome to the Rotary Club of Oakland. And Kathryn, if you're not out there, you can't hear it, but you're still welcome to visit our club anytime.
Thank you, Ed. If there are any more guests out there, please feel free to sign into the chat and we'll recognize you sometime during the meeting. Jason Wizelman, are you with us today? You're sponsoring our meeting.
It's true, lucky me. Am I supposed to start my spiel now?
You can start right now.
Okay.
You have the mic.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks, President Dudley, and hi, everybody. Oh yeah, there I am. So, if you know me, you know that I'm someone who likes to serve and I'm here for people. And that's why I love the job I do. I'm a mortgage lender. I help people in residential and commercial. I have the ability to do a lot of things that a lot of lenders don't. And it's because I believe in the four-way test. So sometimes, someone will come to me and maybe they're self-employed. So if they're self-employed, they may not show what they actually make on the taxes. However, there are some programs that allow you, the self-employed, to show that you make money other ways in order to get a loan. And I don't say no very often. So if I can't help you today, I'm going to help you find a path forward to home ownership or refinancing the current loan you have down the road. I'll help you kind of pave a way to make that happen if I can. Or I'll send you to someone that I think can help you get your credit cleaned or something like this. Like, I'm in it for the people. The loans always come, which is a blessing. I'm very lucky. Knock on wood. But again, I'm only here to help. So I consider myself a mortgage consultant. That is the way that I introduce myself to people. And that's the way that I have my people introduce myself to them. Because the truth is, I'm not looking for a loan. I'm looking to help you figure out if a loan is what makes sense. And that's really my whole spiel. I got nothing to offer other than me.
And that's a lot right there. Jason, thank you so much for sponsoring this meeting today.
Oh, I want to say something about that, actually. The reason I sponsored this meeting was not to toot my own horn, because I don't really like to, believe it or not. It's because I'm a part of the business development committee, and I believe that is a strong component to what we're doing here today in 2022 at Rotary, helping each other, using each other's businesses, and helping, lift all boats, right? And this is how we do it, by making sure that I sponsor so that the next guy picks up the baton and he sponsors. All that money goes to somewhere that's going to be helpful, and you get a little, star next to your name. What a blessing.
Yeah, thank you for that little pitch, Jason. Yeah, last week, you'll recall Nancy Williams sponsored the meeting with Money Pages. You can sponsor a meeting for $250, and that money goes to the Oakland Rotary Endowment. So thank you very much, Jason. Sandeep, are we able to spotlight Joe Goralka, and is Leanne Alameda out there? I see Joe.
To spotlight brilliant people, but I'll try my best.
Are we able to get Leanne up there too?
Yes.
I'll get started with, hi there, Leanne and Joe. So last fall in November was the Rotary Foundation month, and our club set out to support our Rotary International Foundation. First of all, I want to thank the two of you for chairing the Rotary Foundation this year. And you had a great team this year, I understand. And could you tell us a little bit? I understand it was pretty successful.
Leanne, you want to go ahead and give them the results? You're much more in tune with it than I am, although it was an excellent year. And I think last year we sort of changed the culture of the club. And this year, I think we've continued that culture of giving by the majority of our club members that participate every year.
Yes, thank you to everyone who has donated and pledged to the Rotary Foundation. Again, the Rotary Foundation helps fund all the life-changing projects that we do around the world. And happy to say that this year we're currently at 65% participation towards our 100% participation goal, and we've raised over $135,000. So you all should feel extremely proud about that. And I also want to just give a big thanks to the amazing Rotary Foundation committee that worked so hard to help us achieve our goals, and we couldn't have done it without their help.
Boy, that was a great year. And, you know, we didn't achieve 100%, but, you know, 2 years ago, we were at 33%. And really that was reflective of many years in this club. So it's, you know, we've worked hard to increase our participation, and that what Keith Giron was talking about earlier, most of that money that comes back to us from this campaign, it goes to Rotary International, the Rotary Foundation, and then 3 years later, it comes back to us. And that funds most of the international service that we do. So thank you so much for your hard work. Joe, would you stay on here just a second with me?
Sure, but if I could also chime in and make sure I thank Leanne, my fabulous co-chair, and the dynamic, innovative, very energetic TRF committee. Many of the members have been on for a couple years. And also, if it's okay, I'd like to toot our horn. Oakland number 3 is number 1 in the district in annual giving this year. Again. And actually, when we come out number 1, we get a lot more to come back to us. There's some incentives that the district gives us too. So it's been great. So Joe, you guys asked a lot of us this last fall, and you asked us over and over again. But I understand you want to squeeze more blood out of us too. Could you tell me a little bit about squeezing blood out of Rotarians? Sure, President Dudley. And I guess only an accountant would think it would be easier to convince someone to donate their blood than give up their treasure. So we all know the coronavirus has disrupted us from our club meetings, fellowship activities, and from community service. This disruption has also impacted the blood supply. Many of you may have seen on the news, the American Red Cross is reporting the worst blood shortage in over a decade, a national crisis, forcing doctors to decide who receives medical treatment and who will need to wait. And we all know when there's a crisis, Rotarians help. To help, Oakland Rotary is having a blood drive this month, joining our Rotary District and many other Rotary clubs with a Rotary Days of Service blood drives. It is very simple. Go online or call the Red Cross, make an appointment, and donate. Be sure to have your photo taken and send it to Jesse to include in the Oakland number 3 virtual donor board. Details will be in the live oak and may be on the screen soon. Isaac has already donated. Thank you so much, Isaac. And you may have seen his smiling face donating on Facebook. My appointment is on Tuesday. Only 37% of the US population is eligible to donate, and only 10% of those do. But each donation helps save 3 lives. So if 33.3 of you on this Zoom call participate, Oakland Rotary will save 100 lives. Each of you can donate and save 3 lives at no cost, except an hour of your time. You do not have to be with a large group. The medical professionals regularly sanitize the environment. I often marvel at what doctors and nurses can do. Get cancer in remission, transplant lungs for COVID-ravaged patients, put children back together after a high-speed auto accident. But only if blood is available for transfusions. Hope you will join us and our fellow Rotarians in responding to this crisis. Help save lives by volunteering to donate blood. And yes, Dudley, Oakland Rotarians, to help others, will donate their time, talent, treasure, and even their blood.
Thank you, Joe. And Isaac, I'm going to get you up here next week, Isaac, and remind us. It would be really great, I think, if we could get like 50 people by the end of the month to go down to the Red Cross to give blood. I used to be a regular donor.
Added benefit, you get to eat a little bit more that day since your body has to regenerate all the blood.
Do they, I used to be a regular donor and I haven't done it for a few years. And I used to be a platelet donor. Joe, I think you're a platelet donor, which, if you've got 3 hours, it's even more valuable to them. But do they still give those good cookies when you get after your, that's the only reason to go is to get
mini
those
Oreos and Chips Ahoy.
Yeah, I was going to say double stuffed Oreos.
Oh, sorry. I wanted to ring the bell. I'm going to ring the bell twice. One for the blood drive, but also for Leanne, not just for all her leadership on TRF, but because she's also been a tremendous leader on issues around Lake Merritt, and I just want to shout her out for all that.
Thank you, Isaac. Ring the bell here for Leanne, and one for the blood drive. Thank you, Isaac. So ringing the bell is a generous donation of $100 to the Oakland Rotary Endowment. Thank you. And so you just go to go to Red Cross, follow it. There's a way to get to appointments. You can find a place and they have available appointments and it's easy to do. Joel Parrott, are you out there? Excuse me, Joel.
Yeah, I am.
Would you share with us? I think the Environment Committee is challenging us to do something too.
Yes, so thank you, President Dudley, and hello, everyone. On behalf of the Environment Committee, I would like to let the club know about our first initiative coming down the road. And in the next week or so, we will be sending out a link to our members to take a very short survey on your carbon footprint. So we now have a mission statement for the committee, and our first priority is how can we as individuals, businesses, and the community make a meaningful step to help reverse the global warming and climate change crisis? We know that significant changes must be made at the global level, the federal and the state levels, but it is up to us to change at the individual and the community level. So this is the single most existential crisis facing the planet and all of humanity. And so look for our communication and go on the link. Please take the survey. You can do this anonymously, but we will collect the scores at the end to see how our club is doing as a group. Hopefully we can then find areas to change, and we will resurvey in June to see if we made any improvements, made any progress. We also hope to have a carbon footprint speaker in the meantime. But this will be a great, not only is it going to help tell us, where we stand, but it's also going to help you begin to really see where you're generally generating the most CO2 that's going into the atmosphere. And so thank you again, President Dudley, for this time, and thank you everyone. And again, if anybody wants to join the committee, let me know.
Thank you, Joel. I think we'll put a link to the survey in the chat. If you just go to Cool Climate, it's a initiative with UC Berkeley, and you can find it there. It's a simple survey. Everybody on the committee took the survey a couple of weeks ago, and I think we were all flabbergasted that I think I put out 52 tons of CO2 per year. It's incredible when you look at how much you generate individually, and that you can actually, find ways to reduce that significantly. You reduce by tons of CO2 just individually, although there's a lot of CO2 out there. Okay, thank you, Joel. Mary Jiang, are you with us today?
Yes, I'm here.
Mary, where's that parka? Every time I've seen you this week, you have a parka on.
I know, it's freezing in Washington, D.C. I'm visiting my granddaughter there. Anyway, I'm here today to talk about Lunar New Year. Oh, great. There's my flyer. Okay, so Gong Hei Fa Choi, and Lunar New Year begins February 1st this year. And on February, and every year, the Rotary Club gets together for our annual Lunar New Year dinner, which would have been February 3rd. But unfortunately, due to COVID-19, we're not able to come together to celebrate. So we'd like to offer you an alternative solution, a Japanese takeout bento box. And we're gonna have Secure Bistro restaurant in Oakland provide the bento box. And the cost, this flyer is not correct. The cost is $30 with a choice of entree. You could pick beef, chicken, or salmon teriyaki. And that comes with rice and 2 other side dishes. Such a bargain. So we're gonna have delivery from 4:30 to 5:30, not 3:30, 4:30 to 5:30, pick up at the California Ballroom, or you can sign up for home delivery. We're gonna have some Rotarian Uber drivers for those who can't make it to pick up at the ballroom. So we will meet you at curbside in front of the entrance. And so to order, you go to our club runner on the calendar, and in the comment box, tell what type of entree you want. So write down either beef, chicken, or salmon teriyaki, and then tell us pick up at ballroom or you want a home delivery. You give us those information, then we can, make it go smoothly logistically. And if you have trouble with online reservation, then call Jesse. He'll make sure he'll get you an order down. And that way we can sort of celebrate together, even though we can't be together physically. And if I have 3 Chinese calendar to donate, and President Dudley is going to randomly pick 3 people from the reservation list, and we will at that day have 3 people, lucky person to have a Chinese calendar with the word Chinese character prosperity, which is what you're going to have this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Yeah, and I'm just going to say, with all due respect on the home delivery, and I may be doing some of those deliveries, if you're still in Washington, D.C., Mary, I'm not going to come out there to deliver.
I will be back. I will do curbside drop off for pickup for people to pick up.
And also, to be clear, on February 3rd, we will have a meeting. It will be online. It'll be a Zoom meeting, our regular time. But because we could not have the Lunar New Year dinner at Peony that we'd hoped to do, we're just offering a special Lunar New Year dinner that you can either pick up or take home to enjoy with your family that night. Thank you very much, Mary. Nancy Williams, are you out there?
I am.
Could you tell us something about an event that we have coming up?
Absolutely. So thanks, President Dudley, for giving me time on this week's agenda. Georgia Richardson and I are honored to be co-chairing the Rotary Club of Oakland's 2022 Black History Month events. In addition to the Color of Ballet panel discussion at our February 10th Civic Thursday meeting, the Rotary will be screening the documentary film Evolutionary Blues, West Oakland's Music Legacy on Thursday, February 24th. For those of you that aren't familiar with the rich history of blues in Oakland, this is a must-see event. Currently, this film can only be seen by checking it out from the Oakland Public Library. This is a chance to see it on the big screen and experience its full impact. Evolutionary Blues is a 90-minute film documentary commissioned by the City of Oakland and produced by KTOP. It features interviews with more than 30 artists who regularly played in clubs and music venues that line the blocks of 7th Street before a charge for urban renewal decimated the thriving, self-sustaining Oakland Black community. It's a story about the Great Migration told through the lens and culture of blues musicians, many of whom never made it to national fame, but were respected and acclaimed within the true blues scene. They carried the soul of their Southern roots, Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi, Texas, to Oakland. This screening will be held at the beloved Grand Lake Theater, so please invite your family, friends, neighbors, and colleagues. It's a fun way to introduce them to the Rotary Club of Oakland and our great members. Seating will be limited in adherence of indoor COVID protocols, and doors will open at 6 p.m. with the screening beginning at 7 p.m. After the screening, there will be a great Q&A with the film's director, Cheryl Fabio. Proof of full vaccination is required and will be checked, except when eating and drinking, masks must be worn. So tickets are available for $14 plus ticketing fees on Eventbrite right now. And for group ticket sales of 10 people or more, please contact Jesse Battle. And I want to give a special thanks to Allison Bliss for recommending this film. And we look forward to seeing you all there.
Thank you very much, Nancy. Yeah, this is so, we're in this gray area of, do we meet, do we do things live and the like? What we're trying to do is continue to plan events, especially outdoor events. And we're looking for spaces that are large spaces where we can, again, this is about a month out. We're looking at spaces where there's plenty of room and it's not confined spaces. The dinner at Peony, the Lunar New Year, was going to be 10 people to a table in a fairly confined room, and we felt we just couldn't do something like that. But Evolutionary Blues, it's at the Grand Lake, as Nancy said, it's reduced seating. So we're going to go ahead and plan some events like this. A couple other things that are coming up. We do have, Mike Mowry has just arranged a golf tournament at Sequoia Country Club on February 15th. So that'll be a good outdoor event for us. And we're still looking for people for the bowling team. We have a bowling league that's starting in February. Again, kind of a gray area, but we're still recruiting people for that. So thank you very much, Nancy. And Nancy Williams and Georgia Richardson have been organizing this event and putting a lot of work into it. So thank you so much for doing this. So I think we'll just go right ahead. Renia, do you want to introduce our speaker? We'll give her a couple extra minutes here.
Awesome. Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. Thank you, President Dudley, Robert Kidd, and the Speakers Committee for giving me the privilege of introducing our guest speaker today, Miss Regina Jackson. Myself, along with so many, and look up to her, who she is, and what she stands for. Fun fact, Miss Regina first presented to Rotary back in 1980 in search of college scholarship funding. She went along and graduated from Cal Berkeley. Go Bears. I know that's a big one in our club. Miss Regina is a global thought leader, a compassion ambassador, a certified professional coach, a Robert Wood Johnson Fellow, and she recently completed a 4-year term with the Oakland Police Commission, serving 3 years as the chair. Last year, she was honored as Ebony's Power 100, which is a national recognition for her community building efforts. Just 2 weeks ago, she retired after 27 glorious years as president and CEO of EOYDC. With all that going on, she is a mother to 2 wonderful young men and has helped to raise thousands of our Oakland youth. She's raised millions of dollars to create a safe space for our children to thrive in and to create college scholarship funds. She has trained and mentored so many of our city's youth and leaders. You guys could just look around and they have walked through the doors of EOYDC, offering many of our youth their first job, including my daughter Lauren and her EOYDC successor, Miss Selena Wilson. I know many people believe that public safety begins with more police enforcement, arrests, etc. But I believe public safety begins with prevention, lots of love, community building, and creating access to opportunity. That's who Miss Regina is, what she stands for. And I'm just so excited. She's in our company today, excited to hear about her next chapter and her continued work to better our city of Oakland. So please give a warm welcome to Miss Regina Jackson.
Wow, I could not anticipate a more kind introduction. Thank you, sweetheart. I do appreciate it very, very much. Now, I am going to provide some slides and then give some narration to those. But I just wanted to double check and see if, Mr. Thompson, if you were going to be asking any prescribed questions or if I should just take it away.
No, you should just present and then in about 20 minutes or so, or earlier. People usually ask good questions. I know there are some kind of questions that you may not be able to respond to, and you're welcome to just, deal with those as you see fit, but they'll come up in our chat and I'll ask the questions.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so very much. So I did want to say that I've just completed my 4-year term. I'm in a holdover status, giving another year to support the leadership transition. But the chair views are my own, so I'm not here under the auspices of the commission, but we'll hopefully be able to share some insights that you all will find helpful. The goal of the Police Commission is to oversee the Oakland Police Department, the Community Police Review Agency, and the Inspector General. And the commission is supposed to ensure policy practices, customs, and investigations conform to the national standards of constitutional policing. We have a few more specifics that are delineated in the slide before you. Specifically, we have uncovered the fact that there has been a disparate effect that policing has on the Black community, which quite frankly is the reason that I wanted to volunteer on the commission, because I saw how engagement with the police was impacting my young people and their families. And, it's not always someone that's actually doing a crime that may have a negative engagement with the police officer. And so I thought that my skill in youth development, specifically violence prevention, and building healthy cultures, as well as training and leadership, might be helpful to begin to shift the culture of the police department and make sure that there was a relationship in the most disparate parts of the community that tend to see the police most often, right? So within that, we are 7 commissioners. We have 2 alternates. We are working pretty much another full-time job. We just recently got a staff member, and so it's been all volunteer all the time. Our oversight responsibilities are of the chief of police. I have a weekly standing meeting with him, and sometimes we meet more often than that. The Oakland Police Commission is actually considered to be one of the strongest in the United States, in that we have the ability to fire the police chief. And in concert, we can fire the police chief without cause. The mayor can fire, we have to fire with cause. The mayor has to fire without cause. And we could do it either together or separate. And we have done it together. When we talk about control over the Oakland Police Department policies, we have final approval, but we have really rolled our hands up or our sleeves up and participated in ad hoc committees working together with the police department, with community members, and often with departments inside the city to come up with the most robust policies possible. And in many instances, we are leading the nation with some of our policies. Now, I will tell you that about 150 of these policies are more than 10 years old. So we've still got a lot of work to do. In terms of the police review budget, we review that. We often put on forums to have discussions about it. Because again, we are all volunteers, even though we may come from some exceptional, management and oversight kinds of backgrounds. Please advance. So we have a interesting staffing, and I'm not sure how interested people might be. The Community Police Review Agency is an entirely separate entity from the Oakland Police Department, but it does investigations in alignment with the investigations that the police department does. And so they are an entirely separate division. And if you want to place a commendation for a police officer or a complaint against a police officer, you can do it with a Community Police Review Agency, or you can do it with the Oakland Police Department as well. We just recently created the Office of Inspector General, which is a brand new office, first ever. And the idea behind that is that while we are still in the midst of a negotiated settlement agreement that we've been in almost 19 years, we anticipate getting out of that hopefully within the next year or so. And that inspector general would be the internal oversight for the police department, someone who's continuing to do audits to make sure that the police policies and practices are in alignment with the expectations around national and statewide constitutional policing. The commission itself has one staffer, and we need to change that because we've got lots and lots of work to do. Please advance. And so for the inspector general position that I just spoke about, we'll identify policy recommendations. They will continue to help us with policies that are informed by a lot more technical knowledge. As I mentioned, there are those of us who have some engagement with police and some that may have none. And so as volunteers, we need subject matter experts, and the inspector general will be one of them. You can advance again. What I'd like to say is that since the commission came on board back in 2017, we have done some incredible work. And I just want to kind of delineate by reviewing some of our successes to date. And what I think you'll see is some culture shift as well as some innovation. So our very first policy was probation and parole searches. And the concept behind that is if someone has done a crime and done their time, that they should not continue to seem like they are not going to be able to be a positive contributor to society. So one of the things that particular policy called out was no more warrantless searches, so that if you're not doing anything wrong, your car can't be tossed, your house can't be tossed. The concept of allowing humanity to proceed, because we do know that some people that do get in trouble with the law actually do their time and then turn their lives around. Our use of force, the undercurrent for that was to really call out the sanctity of life and wherever possible to de-escalate. And we have found that has been extraordinarily supportive. We have saved the city over $1 million in conducting our own human resource searches for the executive director of the Community Police Review Agency, for the police chief, and then finally for the inspector general. We, in 2 different ballot measures, and I'm sure that I have many of the Rotary to thank for this, we received more than 80% of the vote to support police oversight. And then we recently had in 2020 Measure S1, which clarified our opportunity to hire our own legal counsel, which was fundamentally important in terms of identifying independent oversight. We issued an RFP for investigations of claims of racial bias in hiring and promotion. And we are now working to ensure that many of the observed disproportionate actions are wiped clean, that in shifting the culture, that we recognize that there should be equity around hiring, around promotions, and it's just all too important. We reorganized and restructured both the Inspector General's office as well as our own. And I'd like to say that in the case of like our armed and unresponsive policy, initially, the way it came to us was that unfortunately a person lost their life. Since our policy has been in place, there have been dozens of occurrences of armed and unresponsive people, and no life has been lost. So we recognize that policy is in fact very effective. And we've come up with quite a few more recently around missing persons, criminal investigation, and we've got some hot topics coming up, which are social media, anti-discrimination, and and risk management. So we are working diligently, and you can't just start one and finish it in the next 2 weeks. And we do meet at least twice a month. We have also executed resolutions around vaccinations, around the Oscar Grant case. We complete annual reports to the City Council and leadership retreats, which allow us to get 6 to 8 hours of work in, which is far more than we can in the midst of a meeting. We are currently working on standards for goals and evaluation for the chief as well as the inspector general. And we've had the wonderful support both in policy as well as protocols of the city administrator, the budget office, the Department of Violence and Prevention, the Office of Racial Equity, and the Department of Neighborhood Services. So I think that we are well on our way. I do want to say that we have, in the total of 7, 3 people can be appointed by the mayor and 4 by the selection committee. I do know that they are continuing to look for people who are willing to give of their time, lots of time, for the benefit of a safer Oakland. With that, I am happy to answer any questions that you all might have. You're on mute.
There we go. I've got a sign here, by the way, telling people to unmute. So I should have handed it to you. Thank you. I'm going to ask one question, then I see there's one question in chat, but I just asked others to put in. So when people come to the commission, do you initiate when something happens, or does the public come to you and initiate a lot, or do you kind of initiate when an event happens or whatever?
So as with the first case, the policy with parole and probation, that was initiated by us. However, there are circumstances that we need to be responsive to, and the armed and unresponsive policy was in an outgrowth of the Pollock case, where Joshua Pollock died. In addition to that, the federal monitor, through our negotiated settlement agreement, oftentimes asks for particular policies that may arise out of an investigation that shows that there may be some challenges. So we've got it come in at all angles. And then certainly the community oftentimes is able to provide perspectives, experiences about challenging circumstances that have been brought to us around the unhoused, around towing. So as diligently as we can, and as inclusive as we can, we try to move through those policies, but there are many, many to get through.
So this is a question. The statement about systemic racism at the foundation of American policing is incredibly sweeping and needlessly controversial. It implies bias on the part of the commission as it prejudges the entire Oakland Police Department. How does such language support a productive working relationship with OPD?
The implication that the commission is biased when you have a national system that has been demonstrably racist. They don't correlate. The national argument is one that we've unfortunately seen played out in front of our faces. As individuals, people who have lived inside the city of Oakland, we all try to come to that work as impartially as possible, but we also need both qualitative and quantitative data to help inform how we move forward. So one of the things that happens is that there was an actual open letter from the African-American police officers alleging these prejudgments. There was a report that was done that confirmed those things. And so now what is happening is that we are working with the police department to design a system, actually more of an anonymous system, so that you can't tell who is being considered for promotion as part of a process. So we anonymize it, and therefore it takes out the implication. It's all a work in progress. And I think that a lot of the work is really excellent work, but it's one of those things where you can't sweep it under the rug. We have to look at it under a spotlight, and it certainly makes people uncomfortable. But the only way we grow is to get comfortable being uncomfortable so that we can do things new and differently for the better of the city.
Thank you. So Lois Corin asked, what was the process by which you're selected? What were the challenges as the chair?
So for myself, I was appointed by the mayor. I think I went to her in 2015 and 2016 and said, I think we need a commission. I was watching what was going on in San Francisco, and certainly there was a groundswell of public support, and Measure LL is the one that was on the on the ballot in 2016, and we were seated at the end of 2017. Challenges as chair, wow. I was a little naive in my approach to the commission by itself. I thought I was just going to go in and do great policy work, but there is a lot of politics. As a matter of fact, a lot of the city systems did not really want us there. So it was an uphill climb with no staff and all that kind of thing. So then moving into chair only deepens that work. Not only in the midst of a pandemic is it difficult to build relationship and understand expertise in areas where you may not have it, but then you've also got to figure out where are the juxtapositions for these 7 individuals and that are the commissioners, and what process can you go through in order to get to some solutions. So, one of the biggest challenges that I led was the police chief search. And I found that we had to get really innovative. So we scrapped the old job description and created one of our own. It basically said that the chief had to walk on water, but we wanted to put in there everything that we were expecting so that anybody that applied would know we were expecting a whole lot. Then we went through a series of processes in order to vet those people and forward them to the mayor for the ultimate decision. We also did a forum, which was our only way to be able to provide kind of a one-way mirror so that community could be involved in an otherwise human resource or personnel kind of process where you can't have people involved. And the thing I'd like to say, which is really nice about that, is that San Jose mirrored our forum a year later in order to have that as a part of their own police chief search. So I think that innovation was very helpful. But yeah, I've had a lot of challenges as chair, some arguments in commission meetings, some arguments outside of commission meetings, a lot of frustration. But as I mentioned, you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable, because usually it's in the discomfort that you grow.
Thank you. So I'm going to combine these two questions. One talks about a position, how do you see the term we hear a lot of defunding the police? But let me also sort of ask along with that, how do you or the commission see what's an ideal number of sworn OPD officers?
I don't have a perfect number. But let me say this, we are terribly under the line that we're supposed to be. So, I think 800 was kind of the general marker. But to be totally honest, I think that we as a city or municipality kind of set up the police by asking them to respond to everything, and asking them to be experts in responding to everything. I'll use, for example, I don't know that any of us saw the housing crisis happening so swiftly and so quickly. And the police are the ones that are sent out to shift the encampments, to engage where there's crime, or where there is a mental health response. And those have not been typically their areas of expertise, but yet we call them to do everything. And so there are some innovations that are being put in place now around service providers, under the macro program, to determine when someone calls 911, whether you really need an armed officer or more of a social worker or someone else to determine how to resolve whatever problem is being called out. And in terms of defunding the police, if I were to do a cold poll with everybody on the commission, I doubt that anyone would say they were supportive of that. I think what we are all supportive of is a combination of kind of community policing, where there is a respect and trust that goes back and forth. I think that we need to have active police engagement along with violence prevention programs. I think sometimes people think it's an either or, and it's a both and. I believe that the reimagining public safety work that went on last year came up with, over 130 recommendations, and what the city council prioritized was the first 12 or so. But it really required everybody to be very thoughtful about new and different ways to address many of the problems that police have to deal with, whether they are well-trained or not as well trained, whether they are their first year in the system or 20 years in the system. And I have found that, Oakland can't afford not to have the police. We can't not have a system in place, especially given the increasing crime during the pandemic, where people are getting more and more desperate. And so you don't necessarily dash away an old system and then not have something to replace it. But I believe that the best of all worlds is to have a combination. And, that's why community policing approach is a good one. That's why this culture shift that has been going on under the leadership of Police Chief Lauren Armstrong is holding more police officers responsible for not following the policies, is, retraining when necessary, is finding ways to save money by, shifting, going out of the city to do, gun range training and creating other opportunities here in Oakland. I'm very proud of the work that the commission has done. And I'm also very proud of the work that the Oakland Police Department is doing, because we're putting a lot of changes in place and they are being adhered to. And for those people who don't want to participate in that, they have been leaving. And, some people probably needed to leave.
So this is, you've already sort of addressed how to change the department, but let me just say, one of the members mentioned that the first woman officer of the OPD spoke to our club several years ago and described police as a paramilitary organization. How do we change that approach, that culture here in Oakland?
I think that, I'm not, that was a question I hadn't considered before coming here. So I'm not sure how well I will do in offering advice and counsel around it. I think that as a compassion ambassador, that what we are trying to infuse is more of a connection in terms of human capital and engagement, understanding the challenges of communities that they are called to, rather than being in judgment, and rather than quote unquote protecting and serving, rather than judging and harming. And so I believe that much like what Chief Armstrong has put in place, which is intelligence-led policing, it doesn't go on guts and hunches. It says, if you've got crime going on in this area, then you recalibrate in order to stop it. But I'm really hoping that as we come out of this pandemic, we can begin to anticipate and cut off crime. Much like the ceasefire processes, there are some other tools that we can use that don't support this SWAT-like mentality. But a lot of it has to do with creating more of a humane concern for the people that you're protecting rather than a judgment of. And I think that's how you get to it. I mean, truth be told, there is a lot of technique that goes into, arresting and resolving crime. And that has primarily come out of the military. But I would love to get to a point where, police as an entity weren't needed because they are amongst the citizenry and they are engaged and they are respected, and it's reciprocated. I mean, I hate the fact that my young people would oftentimes be afraid of the police because they only saw them when something bad was going on. So we would invite them into the organization to just chat, to present, to talk, to get to know them. And there is a wonderful human side to most police officers. In fact, it is why they go into the work, to serve, not necessarily to club people over the head. So I think that the more exposure we get, the more understanding we have on both sides from the community and the police, maybe we will come to a stronger understanding and a greater respect, recognizing that when you break a law, there is a consequence to be had. But judging people before that fact is not appropriate. Now, again, these are my personal beliefs, and they are based upon being a citizen in Oakland for 52 years, raising up kids inside the youth center who wanted to be police officers. That has not been such the case over the last 10, 15 years, where we see so much playing out on television. And I would love to get back to that time where people want to work on behalf of their city. And I think that that is also a cultural shift. The chief is, recognizing and expecting that people that are from Oakland, inside Oakland, who know Oakland, and trying to recruit those people to serve, not necessarily having generations of police officers in their family, people that want to serve.
Ms. Jackson, thank you so much for coming with us today and your thoughtful presentation and very thoughtful responses to difficult, it's a terribly difficult situation you've been in the last few years, both in Oakland, as well as trying to improve our community. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
I thank you, and I recognize there are a million other questions. If you want to copy and paste those for me, I will definitely diligently try to respond so that you can share that with your viewers at a later time.
We can save the chat and send it to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This year, we're highlighting the new Rotary area focus, the environment. In your honor, we're making a donation to the Environmental Sustainability Rotary Action Group, SRAG, toward their focus on biodiversity, sustainable living, pollution, the climate, food systems, and a circular economy. Thank you so much for being a part of our Civic Thursday club meeting today.
I thank you. I'm so honored.
So I think at the beginning of the meeting, we were looking for Kathryn Marshall, who was Robert Raburn's guest. And we do want to recognize you that we welcome you to the meeting. Thank you for being with us today. Do we have any other bell ringers, Sandeepa? We had a couple earlier in the meeting. I didn't see, I see Lois Corin, who rang the bell for Regina. Here, let me get my bell out.
Renia rang the bell for Miss Regina.
And Renia Webb rang the bell. Okay.
President Dudley, this is Ahmad Anderson, longtime friend of Regina Jackson. We grew up together. I'm blessed to have two friends who have been speakers within the year. Regina and I go Bears. She's like a little sister to me. I'm ringing that bell for Regina Jackson, my dear friend and my beloved sister. I'm proud of you and glad to be alive to see you doing the great work you're doing.
Thank you, Ahmad.
Thank you, Ahmad. And I mean, there was so much for the Bears there. I think you may come up with another $100 for them. I'd love to rig it. Okay, anyone else there? Okay.
Yes, Georgia.
Okay, Georgia Richardson. Thank you, Georgia.
Thank you.
Dudley put me down for a bell ringer for Regina Jackson as well.
Thank you.
Okay, I think that's Will Hobbs I heard out there.
That's correct.
Okay, anyone else?
Dudley Robert Kidd rings the bell for Regina.
Okay, thank you, Robert. Robert Kidd.
And Seth Butner rings the bell for Regina.
Thank you, Seth.
Ruth Stroup rings the bell for Regina.
And Ruth Stroup. Thank you, Ruth.
And Ken Benson rings the bell for Regina. Thank you, Regina, for your service to the community.
Thank you, Ken. Great. Okay, I'll keep this meeting open if you want to keep doing it. Okay, folks. Thank you so much for coming today. Thank you, Keith Giron, for Thought for the Day, past president, past district governor, and I want to give you all proper due and honor, and past federal judge Ed Jellen. Thank you for introducing people today. Jason, thanks for sponsoring our meeting today. Joe and Leanne, thank you for leading our TRF campaign this year, and Joe for squeezing a little bit more blood out of us, and I hope you get a whole lot more blood in the next few weeks, and that we become regular givers to blood drives too. I want to get back to doing that. I saw there were people sign up there who've given gallons of blood, so I think it's time that we really open up our veins. Joel Parrott, thank you for telling us about getting us to fill out a carbon footprint survey, and the link for that will be in the Live Oak. We'll get that. Also, there will be an email on that. President-elect Mary Jiang, thanks for telling us about upcoming Lunar New Year. Nancy Williams and Georgia, thank you for organizing Evolutionary Blues, and we look forward to that event. You can sign up on the calendar. Renia, thank you for introducing, and thank you so much, Regina, for coming with us today. It's been a pleasure and informative, and it's so much that you've given the city. We appreciate it. And Ahmad, thank you for ringing the bell, and you have want to tell us about our speaker for next week.
I do. Thank you, President Dudley, and blessings to all in this space. I have the pleasure of just starting the introduction of our next speaker, Larry Beal. Actually a fantastic sports writer, a great family man, and a dear friend of mine. He'll be here to discuss the new policies in the NCAA, how it impacts the students, and to his knowledge, and some of the interactions he's had being a great sports writer, anchorman at KGO here in the Bay Area. I look forward to seeing him here. I look forward to you being here. And of course, we are the Oakland Rotary, and we will bring him in with the kind of class that we do.
Thank you very much, Ahmad, and thank you so much for our AV team, Sandeepa, for running the show today, and everybody in the back room behind the scene. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Remember, we are Rotary, serve to change lives, and don't keep Rotary a secret. This meeting of the Rotary Club of Oakland is adjourned.
Thank you all.
Blessings.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.